That's the only thing I bought. But you know I swung through that fleece sale again on the way out. Hi friends, welcome back. I'm MC, a knit and crochet designer and yarn dyer from Connecticut, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Blame the Knots, on my website, blametheknots.com, and of course right here on YouTube where you can get to know me a little bit better. Today is Wednesday, May 7th. I cannot believe it's May already, and we are here for episode 48 of the podcast. I'm very excited. I feel like I sound a little funny today because it's allergy season, and we just had a bunch of days of rain and kind of cold weather, and then now today the sun is out and it's warmer, and usually whenever the weather does that, like has a big switch like that, my body freaks out. So I'm fine, but I feel like I sound funny, and I don't know if it's coming across to you, but if it is, sorry. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's get into things. Grab whatever you would like to work on, a project, grab a drink. I have a cup of Airborne here with me, just in case it's anything more than allergies, but I'm pretty confident it's allergies because I feel fine other than a little bit foggy and like my voice sounds funny. Anyway, let's get started right away with what I'm wearing because it is very exciting, and that is my Bay Day tank. So this is an awesome, oh, look at it. Look at it. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. This is, like I said, the Bay Day tank. This is a crochet design that is releasing today, the day that this video is going live. So if you are seeing this, you can get this pattern. And if you are a knitter and not a crocheter, or you're a bother and you want this pattern in knit as well, lucky for you, it is already released because this was a collaboration pattern with my friend Bree of The Little Wolf Knits. And Bree actually released her version of the Bay Day tank 2 weeks ago. Mine got delayed a little bit with, well, a lot of things. I messed up some stuff, and then I had to restart, and I had to frog, and then I was traveling, and I just wanted to make sure I gave my testers a reasonable amount of time to work on things. So I pushed mine back a little bit, not the end of the world. And today we are ready to show everyone the Bay Day. Like I said, this is a crochet pattern. This is made for fingering weight. I made mine in the colorway Goodnight Dear Void from my 2024 Thanksgiving You've Got Mail collection, and I made my sample with approximately 4 inches of negative ease, meaning the finished circumference of the garment is 4 inches smaller than my bust circumference. This pattern will, when it is released, it will be coming with a low vision version of the pattern as well. That has started. I started it with my percolated socks that I released a couple of weeks ago, and so now every pattern moving forward will be coming with the low vision accessible versions, and I am very excited about it. I think that's all I have to say about this, so let's move ourselves right into finished objects because we've been yapping too much. I only have one finished object that I was working on the last time that I saw you, and it's finished-ish. Let's go with that. So this is a shawl. This I have decided to call the Wayfinder Wrap, and I love it. But the thing is that I really can't decide if I want to put fringe on it or not. So I need your help. Please let me know. Do you think that this needs fringe? If I did fringe, I would need to do a contrast color of fringe because I don't have enough left of my main color that I made this out of. So it'd have to be a contrast color. How do we feel about that? I made this in Pearl and Clover Yarn Company Copper Penny. This is a non-superwash merino wool, and I love it. I wore this this weekend quite a bit on a trip that we took that I'll talk about later on. And this, did I say this is a design? This is a new design. This is a new design shawl, triangular shawl. And I can't decide if I want fringe. And so yeah, it's finished-ish. If I decide to add fringe, then it won't be finished. But if I decide not to add fringe, then it is finished. I don't know. I also have no plans for releasing this. Let me know. When do you want it? I already have plans for releases through the end of the year. Actually, I have plans for releases through most of 2026. So I don't have a spot for this. This was kind of an impromptu thing and I love it and I would love to share it and I would love to publish it, but I don't have a spot for it. So let me know when you want it. I can move things around. I can also just do extra releases. Like right now I usually aim for one release a month, but I can throw this out anytime I want. So when do you want to see it? How much do you want to see it? This has a really fun texture, by the way, that I didn't show up close. It's really fun. It looks kind of basket weavy. It's very fun, and there's no purling. Not a single purl in this entire shawl. So, okay, let's move on to the next things that I have, because I actually have 2 finished objects that I started and finished since the last time you saw me. What? Like, what? This has gone so quickly. This one I will show you first. This is out of order, but whatever. This is actually still damp, and I am going to pull up some notes because I have a lot to talk about with this one. A lot. So this is the Bayside shirt by Brie of the Little Wolf Knits, and this is the yarn I used is Crown and Anchor on her 420 base, which is DK weight, and this is still damp because I literally blocked it this morning, and I love it. I started this, let's see, when did I start this? May 1st. I started this May 1st, and I finished it this morning. So today is the 7th. 1 week. I love it. I'm super excited, but here is what I did for modifications. Okay, not necessarily modifications, but basically I am making a size down from what I typically would because my gauge is the teensiest bit bigger than Brie's, stitch-wise and row-wise. So I decided to go a size down, and so I'm gonna be getting, so instead of getting 4 inches of negative ease like the pattern suggests, it does give a range, but the sample was knit to about 4 inches of negative ease. So I am going to be aiming for about 6 inches of negative ease, but because of my gauge, I'm gonna be getting a little bit less than that, so I'll be getting somewhere in between. And it's gonna be fine. I will be measuring my gauge again once it's dry, just so that I can add it to my Ravelry project page and let people know if they are interested. Now, one thing that I did, which you can see that I have not woven in my ends on the straps yet. I reached out to Brie and I was talking to her because I really don't like it when things touch my armpits. Actually, even this is like a little bit higher than I prefer usually. So for tanks and stuff, I like really don't like things in my armpits, and the straps in the pattern are listed as significantly shorter than what I usually do for a armhole depth. Now, none of the projects that have been made look like they're high up in the armpit, but I just really don't like it. So I talked to Brie and we chatted it out, and she was very, very helpful. And what I decided to do was add some length to the straps because I would rather do that. I would rather have the straps be a little bit long than have them be too short. So if they were too short, there's not much I can do. I mean, I could try and add length, but it would be a little bit more annoying. But what I've decided is that if I need to, I can just pick up right here on either side of the seam in the strap, and then I can rip a little bit out and 3-needle bind off the stitches together, and then it'll be the same thing, like a seam at the strap. So I'm just waiting for it to dry so I can see how things are going. I was a little bit overly cautious. I made the straps 1.25 inches longer than the pattern calls for, and I think I probably didn't need that much. I think I probably needed about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. So I think I'm probably going to cut out about 1 inch total, which would be about 1/2 inch from each strap. But we're going to wait till it dries and we're going to see how that goes. Another thing that I did as a modification, kind of, is that when you cast on stitches for joining the straps, I use the alternating cable cast on instead of the backwards loop cast on. I just love it, and I think it gives a really great, can you see that? It kind of mimics a tubular or Italian cast on, and I love it for ribbing, for one by one ribbing. So that's what I did for that. And let's see, because my row gauge was a little bit different than Bree's, I worked a slightly different number of rows before beginning my decreases, and then I added 1 extra inch of length to the body beyond what the pattern said. And then there's also a couple of purl 2 togethers that I replaced with slip pearls because I wanted to. I don't really have a great reason for it. You can't tell the difference you can tell the difference between a purl 2 together and a slip pearl in general. In this pattern, with where they are, you can't tell the difference, but I just did it. So if you want to know any of my notes, they're all on my Ravelry project page. And I think that's all I have to say for right now. I will keep you posted if there is anything that changes with this. I think what I'm probably going to do is cut a little bit into those straps. Just having tried it on before blocking, I think I'm going to remove about 1 inch. If I do, I'll try and maybe make a little video about it or something so that I can keep you updated on what is going on. But yeah, that's that. I'm super excited for it. Can't wait to wear it. It was so much fun. It was so much fun to just do a little like frivolous cast on of something that I just felt like doing. And I couldn't stop once I started. So it was really fun. And I definitely want to do something like that again pretty soon. I have some travel coming up again. So it might be fun to take something like that with me. Okay, that was a really long thing. Let's move on to our next finished object that I started and finished since you saw me last. And this might look familiar. Actually, it's going to break the camera. This might look a lot like what I'm currently wearing. Isn't that interesting? This is a Mayday tank. However, I made this with What's Up, which is from my new neon collection, on my No Duh DK base. So, that is a little hint of something that is coming down the road, way down the road, way down the road. I told you I have patterns planned out for a long time. So I really wanted to make something, and so I did, and here we are with a new design. Oops. So this will come at some point. At some point in the future. I also wore this all weekend while I was away. Oh, I meant to put some earrings on today. Sorry, that was random. I had some really cute earrings. That like it was like a vibe. It's fine. Anyway, I wore this all weekend. It's great. Super great. I made this one with neutral ease, and I think it was perfect for being with the DK weight. It just felt more like a really casual tank that I was wearing around New York City this weekend. So I love it. It's perfect. It's coming in like a year. Let's talk about our works in progress. First things first, this is not very exciting, but I'm still working on my percolated socks. I finished one. I have had this one finished for like a long time. I am on the foot of my second one. I have about 40 rounds of the foot left and then a toe. And I'm just going really slow on this. My hands have not been enjoying the small, not even small circumference, the small needles. So I've been doing like 10 rounds a day. And it's fine. I'll get there when I get there. Just still working on it. These are, one second. I am making these in my own colorway, tall decaf cappuccino, from, again, the Thanksgiving You've Got Mail collection, and loving them, but very slowly going through them. Next time they will be done and I will just hold them up quickly and say these are done and then move on with my life, because I feel like I've shown these too much. The next and only The next and only other thing that I am working on right now is the E Street sweater by Bree of the Little Wolf Knits. I didn't intend to have this be a Bay Day and Bree themed episode, but that's where we are. Sorry. This is, like I said, the E Street sweater. And this is using my colorway FOX. Oh my gosh, it's also from the Thanksgiving You've Got Mail collection. Can you tell I'm trying to make some samples of things and that I liked the colors I made? So this is moving along finally. I had just finished the front panel. So I'd done the back panel and the front panel right before I left for Hawaii, and then I left it here. I hadn't touched it since. I finally picked it up just the other day. I just was looking for some stockinette, and my hands said no thank you to the socks. So I picked this up, and honestly, once I started, I was like, this feels so nice. So here we are. Like I always have to say, this color, that's a bit more accurate back here. It is coming off very orange on when I hold it up closer to the camera, but it's fantastic. Oh, this is where I was last time. This marker is from Stacy of Bah Humble. Oh, let me hide my eyeballs. There we go. That's from Stacy of Bah Humble. And then I'm using this little cheese progress keeper that I am pretty sure I got from a Yarnable box. I think. Don't hold me to that, but I think. So let's talk about this one now. So basically, I'm also doing some modifications to this one, not really modifying the pattern, just more modifying fit, or like how I want it to fit my body. So the pattern calls for a US 5 needle, and my gauge is a little bit off from Bree's. So if I use a US 5, my gauge is a little bit smaller than Bree's. And if I use a US 6, my gauge is a little bit bigger than Bree's. There's nothing in between. So I can't get anything in between. So what I've chosen to do is to use the US 6. I really like the fabric of it. And if my gauge is a little bit bigger, then I have less stitches because I can cast on a smaller size. So what I'm actually doing is casting on the smallest size. I'm making the smallest size that there is, which is 2 sizes smaller than I usually make, because I actually want this to fit me with more like neutral ease. And with my gauge and the measurements of the pattern and yada yada, all that stuff, to get neutral ease, I am making the smallest size. So it's still going to be, I mean, it's pretty perfect. Yeah. And remember, neutral ease means literally just around the fullest part of my bust. So it's going to have positive ease at other parts of my body that aren't as full as the fullest part of my bust. So This is going well. I added 2 extra short rows across the back. I'm looking at my notes. And so now I'm gonna have to recheck my gauge. I have a note here in my project page that says that I'll have a very small amount of positive ease. I thought I was doing neutral ease. Whatever, that's fine with me. I just don't want it to be super positive ease. So I'm gonna have to remeasure. I'm gonna have like neutral to an inch of positive ease, I think. Let's see, what else have I done? Nothing. I don't think so. I'm just cruising along. Right now I'm currently adding in my second skein. I have just the teensiest bit left of my first skein, and whenever I have solid colors like this, I usually try to helically knit for a little bit as I'm fading one skein out and fading the new skein in, just so there's not like a stark contrast. And I think that's all I have to say. Let's move our progress keeper so that we know where we were. And I'm hoping, honestly, I did about 6 inches on the body. I think I'm supposed to go to 9 before the ribbing, but I might do a little less than that. I'm gonna try it on. I think I want to do an inch or 2 more, then try it on, and then make my decision. I'm really hoping that I can get through at least the body, if not, like at least the stockinette part of the body, if not finishing that and the bottom ribbing by the end of the week, because I have 2 more projects that I need these needles for, that I need to get cast on. So I'd really like to get that going, because once I finish the stockinette part of the body, then I'll be switching to the ribbing needle, and then I'll only be using small circumference, so I won't need these anymore. So hopefully we can get that done. And that is it. That's literally all I'm working on. That's all I have. I have nothing else. Who am I? As far as the shop goes, there is not much to catch you up on. I am caught up on all orders, and now it's just moving forward into new ideas. So I have been working on my next collection. I have a bunch of colors solidified for that. I'm still working through some things. But I'm really hoping that by the next time I sit down to record, I will have a new collection to share with you before its release. And the only other thing that I need from you regarding the shop is I need to know what your favorite Tom Hanks movie is. Because Thanksgiving will be an annual event, and I need to start getting to work on it. Not, in a hurry or anything. I have plenty of time, but I want to start thinking about movies. I want to start watching some movies. I want to start getting some inspiration, because I do also have a couple of projects that I want to make before the collection releases, so that there are samples made of the collection. So I want to get working on that pretty soon, and I'm really excited, and I have so many ideas that I can't decide which movie I want to go with. So which one is your favorite? What do we like? Should I just go with my gut and pick my favorite? Should I do You've Got Mail last year was a rom-com. Should I do a more serious one this time and kind of alternate that way? Should I do all the Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan movies all in a row before I move on to something else? How do we feel? Let me know. I would appreciate your help. All right, let's talk about life. And our first life thing is fiber related, and that is because 2 weekends ago I was able to go to Connecticut Sheep and Wool, and I was so excited. I have been trying to go to this festival for I think 5 years now, and every year something kept happening, because it's only a 1-day event, and so if you are doing something on that day and you can't make it, you can't make it. There's not a tomorrow to try and go. So I finally went. I was very excited. Joe went with me, and I had a great time. It was raining. It kind of sucked. It was a much smaller event than I thought it was going to be, but that's not to its detriment. It's just a fact. I, first things first, ran into the fleece sale and had so much fun sticking my hands in all the little bags of sheep, and it was the best time. And I went back and forth. I was holding things, carrying it around, putting things back, grabbing something else, picking this up, paying test, digging through bags. It was wild. I unfortunately found a couple, 3, maybe 4 fleeces that had breaks along the staple length, which was really sad because they were gorgeous and so soft otherwise. So that kind of like deterred me for a little bit. And I left the fleece sale and decided to go cruising along throughout the rest of the festival. And the only thing I grabbed was from Whimsicalia, I think, which is handmade pottery and buttons. And this was an adorable little booth. She had raku buttons. Wendy, if you're listening to this, she had raku buttons and they were so cool. I don't think the ones that I got are raku fired, but okay, so fine, just hang on one second. Raku is a really cool pottery technique or firing technique where it is basically, okay, hang on, let me just read this tag because I am not going to explain it properly. It's fired in an outdoor kiln, then to 1800 Fahrenheit, 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, then it is placed molten into a pit filled with, well, this one was palm fronds and coconut husk and engulfed in flames. So basically, you fire it outdoors and then you put it in a pit of stuff. And so this one in particular used horsehair to get these really cool designs on them. So that is raku fired pottery. That was a tangent. Sorry, this is a yarn podcast. Anyway, I grabbed some buttons because they were on sale and I thought they were super cute. So I don't know what I'm going to use them for. I don't have any plans. This is not great showing you them in the bag, but you know, that's where we are. So I got some buttons. That's the only thing I bought. But you know I swung through that fleece sale again on the way out. And of course I took a friend home with me. Very disappointed that this sheep does not have a name, but this is a Romney Corriedale lamb, and it is 3.5 pounds from there it is from Stonecrop Farm in New York. And it says it has a 4-inch staple and it was shorn with hand shears to minimize second cuts, which is interesting. I noticed that like a large majority of the fleeces there said that, so that they were shorn with hand shears, which I thought was interesting. So this is a deep black fleece with a lot of sun bleach tips. It's quite dirty, so I'm just gonna grab, it's not that dirty. But it says some VM. It really, there were much dirtier ones, but I just don't feel like touching lanolin right now. So this is a lock and it's so cutie patootie. I love it. It has a, not the least amount of VM I've ever seen, but it's not too bad. So really excited about this one. Really excited about how dark it is. Oh, and it has, can I find it? It also has some random spots of like this. That's not a good one. Sorry, that was probably annoying. There are these some like, you're not gonna be able to see it. There are some random like very shiny silver spots in there, which is really cool. So quite looking forward to playing with that. But first I need to work on the fleeces that I'm already in the middle of processing. So that was so much fun. I'm so glad I went. And the following weekend, Joe and I took a little trip into New York City to go see a couple of shows, and it was a lovely weekend. It was wildly hot in New York City, and unfortunately, we were like in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, which is not my happy place. I like New York. I'm fine with New York, but like, Empire State Building to Central Park, it's just full of stupid people. It's just full of stupid tourists, and I got hit by a pigeon. It just flew into my leg. It was standing there, I was standing there, and then it just took off, flew right into me and bounced off. It was a little bit stressful with all the people and pigeons. Midtown Manhattan is not great for me. But other than that, I got a little bit used to it, and then we tried to venture a little bit farther out beyond Times Square, and it was really fun. We saw on Friday night, we saw a show for a podcast that Joe watches, which is called Well, There's Your Problem. It is a podcast about engineering disasters. And it was really fun. It was really fun. It was at Sony Hall, which I had never been to before, and it was really cool. And it was a great show. I didn't understand half of the things that they said, but it was clear that the people that were there were so happy to be there. So they would, I don't know, the podcasters were like talking about like, oh, and then the Flibberty Gibbet broke, and like the crowd would be like, of course the Flibberty Gibbet broke. Like, what were they thinking? And I was like, sure. So I was taking notes on my phone the entire time so that I could ask Joe afterwards, like, why is it so funny? Like, everyone knew the Flibberty Gibbet was going to be broken. So, like, can you explain it to me why everyone was laughing their heads off at that? But it was really fun. It was really fun. And then the next day we honestly just kind of like decided to not do the touristy things. You know, both of us grew up, in and around New York City, about an hour and a half outside of New York City. And so we've done all the touristy things. Of course, there's still going to be touristy things that we haven't done because there's a million things to do in New York, but we decided to just kind of like chill. We walked around. We hung out in Bryant Park for a little bit. We did walk through the public library because I had actually never been there. But we just kind of like chilled. There was a little market happening in Bryant Park. We wandered, we got lunch, we walked around Central Park, sat for a little bit, just kind of existed in the city for the day. And it was really nice, but really hot. And then that night we went and saw Hadestown on Broadway, and it was so good. It was so good. So Hadestown is a musical retelling of the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, but Hades and Persephone are also a major part of the story. It doesn't tell their story, but they are in it. And the actors that played Orpheus and Eurydice were not the like regular cast. They were, I don't know if they were like understudies that were stepping in for the night or whatever, but they were so good. They were so good. Hades was so good. His voice like reached depths that I like didn't know voices could go. It was amazing. And then Persephone. Oh my God, I have to, hang on. I'm gonna take a video of Shandy's face right now and insert it. Okay, distraction over. Persephone was so good, so good. And I can't remember her name, but I found out, I realized after at intermission I was looking through the program, and she played Marlene in The Last of Us season 1. So if you have seen The Last of Us, she was like Ellie's kind of surrogate mother that was taking care of her, and then she kind of is the reason that Joel and Ellie ended up on the mission together. She hooked them up with each other, and then you see her again, and things happen. But anyway, that actress was Persephone, and it was so cool. It was so cool to see her. She was phenomenal. Everyone was phenomenal. It was such a great show. It was such a good night. It was great. And then the next day we just did some wandering around again, I think. Coffee shops and walking around. And I think we walked to the High Line a bit because it was a really beautiful morning, and it was just nice to get some walking around the city. And then it started raining. So then we hopped a train and came home. And then it's been raining ever since. It's been raining ever since. All right, that just leaves us with our books, and I finished a bunch of things. I wasn't about to. If I had filmed this yesterday like I wanted to, I would have not had as many books. But then I finished 2 books yesterday. So the first thing that I read is Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. I gave this, actually, I have to change it. I give this 2 stars. I gave it 2 stars. I did not like it. It's one of those books that I definitely understand why people like it, but I did not. It is about a local woman that goes missing, and they're trying to figure out what happened to her. I'm not going to say much beyond that because it's better to not know. But my main issue with this book was that the red herrings went on for too long. Every mystery thriller has to have red herrings. That's what keeps them going. But it would be like pages and pages and pages of a red herring, and then be like, oh, never mind. That was silly of me. It was just, and then there was like one that was like almost the whole book was a red herring. They went on for too long, and it really bugged me. And it felt gimmicky, I guess. So 2 stars for Local Woman Missing. Next up is a weird one. We're going to talk about this super quick. I read Sad Nuggie, Life is Sweet and Sour, written by Sad Nuggie. I got this as a review copy from NetGalley. I have seen some of the cartoon Instagram posts and stuff. And this book said that it had like an actual story. And I'm sorry, it did not. It did not have a story. Like it had like 5 chapters, and at the end of each chapter, Sad Nuggie was in therapy. But like the stuff that happened in between that was literally just like vignettes of nothing that didn't connect to each other. So I give it 2 stars. It just had an opportunity to be so much better, and it was kind of pointless and really not worth your time reading it. If you do want something that's like this, but like actually has a story and will fill you with all the hope in the world, read Cat's Cafe. I can't remember who the author is, but I will put a picture of it right here. Cat's Cafe. So good. Let's move on. Next up, I read Symphony of Secrets by Brendan Slocum, and I really enjoyed it. This was a book that a friend of mine had read and said it was really good, and I finally decided to pick it up. I went with the audiobook, and I thought it was fantastic. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's like kind of historical fiction, but also it goes back and forth between historical and present day, so it's not really historical fiction, but it's not really literary fiction. And it is about a composer and a lost piece of music, and everything that went into it. And it talks about race and belonging and mental health and disability, and it was really good. Did I say I gave it 4.5 stars? I gave it 4.5 stars, and I've added the author's other books to my list to read because I really enjoyed it. I will say it started, for me at least, it started off pretty slow, and it took me a while to get into it, but by the end, it was quite powerful. So really loved it. Next, yesterday, I finished 2 books. I finished an audiobook while I was getting ready for bed, and then I got in bed and I finished another book before I fell asleep. So the first one that I finished was James by Percival Everett. This was another 4.5 star. I really had some good reads the past couple of books that I read. This is a retelling, reimagining of Jim's story from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. So it's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective, I guess, kind of. I haven't read that book since I was in like 6th grade, so I don't know how much they parallel each other. But it's basically Jim gets to tell his own story, and he prefers to go by James. So it was fantastic. It was really powerful. Again, another one that took me a little bit to get into, a little bit slow at the beginning. 100% recommend the audiobook. It's told wonderfully. I read earlier, was it earlier this year or was it last year that I read The Trees by Percival Everett? I didn't like that one as much. Both powerful works, but this James to me was so good. And then last night, right before I drifted off to sleep, I finished 0 Days by Ruth Ware, and this is about a couple that they call it pen testing, which is where they are hired by a company to basically try to break in and find inadequacies in their security system, basically. So it's about a couple that does that, and then murder happens. So this was a pretty classic Ruth Ware. I gave it 4 stars. It is not my least favorite of hers that I've read, but it is also far from my most favorite of hers that I've read. So I think it was one of her weaker books, but not that weak, if that makes sense. I like her. I like Ruth Ware. I know she can be kind of on the slower side, but I find her really fun. Anyway, that is it. Thank you for sticking with me this whole time. I thought I was going to go so much faster, but then I started getting all this energy and having a lot of fun talking to you. So sorry about that. Don't forget that the Bay Day tank is available now, so you can go grab a copy for yourself. And don't forget to like and subscribe or share this video with someone else that you think might like it. And until next time, take care of you, and I will see you later.